Hello, Donna. What is time to value for you?
Time to first value is the time it takes for customers to initially realize the value in your products. It's important because when customers buy your products, they need to see value quickly, or else they get disillusioned and will go somewhere else. It's important to get them to some initial adoption, some quick wins immediately.
What are the steps to implement in order to optimize time to value?
So the first thing to do is to listen to your customers. Find out what value means to them. Value is probably some insights, some data-driven insights, some workflows that are automated, some reporting that helps you do your job better. Find out in their words what the first value means to them. With time to value, you might think, well, our product might take 90 days, 120 days to implement. That's going to be a long way out. So is there a way that you can define some value earlier, like maybe building a prototype or building the first report for them so they start to see, oh, wow, this is providing me insights.
Can you create patterns?
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, at one company I worked at, we created 3 different, we called them quick wins. So depending on what the customer was trying to do, we would give them like a menu of these 3 options for quick wins. And then we would have a conversation with them, find out what was most important to them, and then provide the tools, whether they were high, low, or tech touch tools to help them reach that goal very quickly.
What kind of question can you ask them in order to avoid duplicates?
First of all, to avoid duplication, you need to be capturing the information regardless of whatever team is talking to the customer. And then before a CSM talks to the customers, they can log in, that you can see what's been covered already.
What would be the perfect or the ideal process to follow in order to optimize time to value?
Starting before the deal even closes, understanding what customers are aiming for, and then knowing your audience. So, is it important to have a high-touch engagement to guide them to their first value? You might have some self-paced content. There might be tools inside the application and app guidance to drive them to that first value. And it's also helpful to measure how long it takes your customers to get to first value, see what some of the roadblocks are, and then start to make it easier and faster to get to the first value. Another way to help customers get to first value quickly are phased deployments. If it's a really long and painful process to implement your product, customize it, integrate it, then I would look at how you can chunk that down to make it feel like you're getting to wins regularly and having milestones rather than it being a really long process.
And why it's so important? Is it so important to celebrate?
I mean, imagine if you could demonstrate value quickly with one team at a company and they're all celebrating and other teams are going, we want it. You get that land and expand really quickly rather than waiting 1 or 2 years or it never happening.
Is this time to value the same for all personas?
And I would start with the time to value for the company. It is really important to define the adoption needs for each persona. If you haven't done first value yet, rather than trying to figure it out for every persona, I would start with for the company. What is first value for the company?
When you've made an experiment on time to value, how can you monitor that and how can you optimize or decrease this time to value?
Once you know what first value is, and then you start to measure how long it takes, then you can explore ways to decrease the time to first value. The more that you can get people using your product, the more likely they will renew, the more likely they will share it with other groups in the organization. And ways to decrease the time to first value is through webinars. You might have in-app guidance. You might have the CSM showing the users how to do that. You might have formal classes. So there's all sorts of tools to get there. There's not just one way. It's important to know your users and then understand what they need to get to the first value and drive that behavior so that they get there.
How can you personalize and make sure you are reaching the objective with Tech Touch?
So with Tech Touch, generally you'll have some self-paced content to drive users to the first value. It might be email campaigns, it might be self-paced courses, it might have learning pathways. So it could be that you have the users pick their own adventure, so they self-identify, this is what my goal is, and you have a pathway, whether it's in a learning management system or email campaign, and they select their pathway, or depending on the customer types, you are delivering certain types of pathways to them. The most important thing is to listen to customers. So it's what your customers think, because it needs to be meaningful for them. It's helpful to call up your customers. I recommend talking to them. It might be a 15-minute conversation and asking them, hey, what's your first aha in the product? What's that first thing you're looking to achieve that will help you feel grateful that you bought this product? And do some discovery sessions. I would start with 10 customers and start to see some trends. Interview 10 customers in the same segment or the same industry, so you're not getting, completely different views. But really enter this in a state of curiosity. So listening and learning and finding out what's important. And then explore, well, how long does that take for you to get there? What are some of the blockages? What makes it difficult? What makes it easy? So really learning from your customers. You can even map it out as a journey from, okay, here's when the deal closes to the first value, and understand all the things that are in their way or are helping them, and then start making it easier and start removing blockages.
In order to optimize benefits and reduce time to value, what are the must-dos that a CS department should implement?
To reduce the time to first value, the most important thing is to understand what is preventing customers to get to first value. So maybe like at one company I worked at, there was so much information online, they didn't know where to start. So everyone was putting that information out there. And when they found it, it was out of date. So maybe it's about having really clear, up-to-date information, especially for a tech touch. Maybe it's about having courses and making sure that if users need some training, that it's sold, the sales reps know to sell it, if that's going to really help them get to first value. Maybe if it's consulting, some implementation engagement, making sure that that's included. So it's really about knowing what's unique to your company, what the needs are, what the blockages are, and then making it a seamless experience.